This is Jeff Pearlman, founder and CEO of Xojo, and in this video I'm going to show you how to use a mobile tab panel in your Android projects. So over in the library there's a tab panel. I'm going to drag it out, drop it onto the layout, and let's say I'm making a contact manager, for example. Maybe I want to be able to add and edit contacts. So I've got two tabs, tab 0 and tab 1. If I go over the inspector and go to the tab panel section, I can click the edit button, and here I can set the captions. So perhaps I want this one to be add contact, and this one will be edit contact. There we go. Now I've got to add and edit, and you'd think what you would do next is drag controls from the library right onto the tab panel, but actually the tab panel uses containers. So you'll want to go to the insert menu and choose container. And then you create your interface for each tab here. So each container will be for a single tab. I'm going to drag out a text field, put that here, and let's get a button to add a contact. So I'm going to call this add. Let's resize this. Make sure you set your locking properties. So I want the add button to be locked to the right. I want the text field to lock to both sides, and I don't need to be that big. I'm just going to have those two controls. Okay, great. Now, you want to also set the locking for the container itself. So I'm going to set the right lock. That's because when the user rotates the device, the mobile tab panel is going to expand and contract. You'll want the container to do that as well. And the next step is to set the container to the tab. So we'll go back to the tab panel, and we go back to the edit button for the tab panel. And back here, you can set an icon if you have them. You can also set the container. So you just select this, choose your container, click OK. You'll see that the container appears here, and that's great. Now, the container is sitting on the tab panel, or rather it's assigned to the tab, specifically assigned to tab 0, in this case, the add tab. But you may want your controls to have access to other controls on the screen itself. So let's, for example, add a table. So I'm going to drop a table on the bottom here. Okay. And maybe I want to make it so the add button adds the contact to this table. Now the way to do that is that the container itself needs a reference to this control. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my container, and I'm going to add a property that will store that. Let's call this contacts table, and I'll make it an Android mobile table. Then back here in the opening event of the tab panel, let's go to opening. Now I'm going to set that property equal to the Android mobile table that's on the layout. So I can put tab panel 1 dot container at, we want the first one, that's 0. Now that gives me the container itself, but I need this specific container. So I need to cast it as container 1. Obviously you could give it a more interesting name than that. And now that it's container 1, I can get at that property, contacts table equal to table 1. Great. So now the property holds the table. So I'm going to go back to the container, and I'm going to go to the add button. And now I can just say contacts table dot add row, and we'll use text field 1 dot text. And then maybe I'll set the text field to blank afterwards. Great. All right, so we should be all set. Let's run and give it a try. All right, so there is our screen, and you can see I click edit. There's nothing on the edit screen because I didn't create a container for that. Go back to add. There's add, and let's try putting in a name, and I'll click the add button, and there it is in my table. So building a mobile tab panel for Android is that easy. But again, remember, if you're going to be accessing other controls from your containers, you'll need to create properties on those containers to access those other controls and set them in the opening event. But aside from that, it's pretty straightforward. So that's the mobile tab panel on Android. Thanks for watching.